Friends, I welcome you to my channel. Before listening to this story, I will ask you to like and subscribe. It is not difficult for you, but it is pleasant for me. And we're starting. I found out that my wife is cheating on me, but she and Josh don't know that I know it. Josh, by the way, is or was my best friend. I know, it's a cliche, but cliches become cliches because they happen so often. I had no idea how I was going to handle it. The thing is, I couldn't figure out why he was using my wife. Don't get me wrong, my wife is definitely a beauty. She's in her 30s, and even after 2 kids, she looks damn beautiful in a bikini. But his wife Carla is just as hot, if not hotter. Carla is quite tall, 5 feet 7 inches tall, with red hair hanging down to the middle of her back, and green eyes that seem to be able to look deep into the soul. I found out that her sizes are 36-23-34, and I won't deny that she turned me on. After I found out about Josh and Heather, I didn't do anything for weeks, trying to figure out what to do. I loved Heather and wondered if there was any way to save our marriage. It seemed unlikely, but I couldn't know for sure until we talked. I decided to meet with her on Friday, but had to postpone it until Monday. Why wait 2 days? My wife got a call from a very sick friend who needed help, and she rushed to help. I had no doubt that if I called Josh and asked if he wanted to play golf on Saturday, Carla would come up and tell me that Josh was not at home and he had gone somewhere for the weekend. My parents took the kids to their lake house, so the absence of my wife and children meant that I was going to spend a quiet weekend alone, and this could well be the last quiet weekend I would ever have. On the way home, I stopped, bought a case of beer, and firmly decided that by Sunday evening all 24 bottles would be empty. When I got home, I put on shorts and a t-shirt and went to the kitchen. Dinner this evening will be simple. I opened a package of hot dogs and put them in a saucepan to boil, chopped onions, and took out a jar of baked beans from the pantry. I poured the beans into a saucepan, put it on the stove, and opened a second can of beer. I was rummaging in the fridge for mustard when the doorbell rang. I opened the door and saw Carla standing there. "Are you busy?" "Partially. I cook dinner and drink beer. Do you mind if I join you?" "Not in the least. I could use some company," I said, stepping aside and letting her in. We went into the kitchen, and she sat down at the table. I knew she didn't drink beer, so I opened a bottle of Merlot and poured her a glass. "Dinner is nothing special," I said. "Hot dogs and baked beans. It's a pretty simple thing. It fits." The hot dogs were boiling and the beans were bubbling, so I turned off the heat, moved the pans to the cold side of the stove, and took 2 plates out of the cupboard. I handed one to Carla. She made herself 2 hot dogs and put beans on a plate. We sat down to eat and I asked, "What brings you here?" "Do you know where Heather is?" "She went to help a sick friend." "I wonder when it happened." "When did what happen?" "This is Josh's disease. He looked damn healthy when he left the house. You know Josh is using Heather, right? And that they are now in room 130 at Arrowhead Lodge?" I didn't know where they were, but I've known for a couple of weeks that she was cheating on me. "How did you find out?" "I found a condom wrapper in his pants pocket when I was doing the laundry. We're trying to get pregnant, and we don't use condoms. But since he's cheating, I decided not to give birth to his child. I don't want to be a single mother in the event of a divorce, so I used part of my father's inheritance to hire a private investigator. They get together for long lunches, and when he calls and tells me he's working late, he usually works on Heather." "How did you find out?" "I was in the basement, working on the bookcase that I'm making now. The phone rang, and I picked up the receiver of the basement phone. Heather must have picked up the phone on the second floor a second before me, and I heard her say the word lover just as I put the phone to my ear. So I calmly listened as Josh told her that they would have to skip their usual long lunch at the Marriott because that he had an important meeting. I had to listen to her say that she would miss me in order to make amends next time. "And you didn't do anything?" "I can't decide what to do. Now I've decided to meet her when she gets home and see what happens next." "Well, what are you going to do?" "You'll understand in a few minutes." I looked at her in confusion. She got up, came over, and sat on my lap. "I see the way you look at me, and I know damn well that if we weren't married, you'd be after me. We may both still be married, but we no longer have to be faithful to Josh and Heather. They have relieved us of this duty." She hugged me. Carla broke off the kiss and said, "I'm going to get my revenge to the end." Despite the fact that we decided to have a child, I managed to come up with excuses not to make love during the fertile period, just in case, I went to the doctor and had a diaphragm fitted. How badly do you want to get back at Josh? Why do you ask? I intend to take full revenge. I'm in my most fertile state right now, and my diaphragm is in my purse. It means, that's exactly what it means. Carla was right. It would be a full-fledged revenge if Josh raised my child thinking it was his. We both hurriedly undressed when we got to the bedroom. Carla was amazing, and she had something that I had never seen before except in men's magazines. I've already mentioned that Heather was a beauty, but why Josh would use my wife when he had a woman like Carla was completely incomprehensible to me. Carla seemed to be thinking in the same direction. She looked at my naked body in a puzzled way, and when I asked her what she was thinking, she replied, "I just don't understand. It doesn't matter. You are here now, and there are no others right now. You're absolutely right. Take me to bed and take me." I pointed to Heather's side, and Carla smiled and said, "You're going to take me on Heather's side, and then we're going to come to my place, and I'm going to take you on Josh's side." Agreed. We were both sweating and out of breath when I got out of her and fell on the bed next to her. Carla propped herself up on her elbow and looked down at me. I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. Heather can get it. But does she want my husband? Good boy. It's showing signs of life, and that's good, because we're not even close to done yet, my love. "It's my turn to ride," she said, starting to use me cowboy style. "You're not sending me home, are you?" "Stupid girl," I said, pulling her to me. We fell asleep hugging each other. I woke up earlier than Carla in the morning and, looking at her, I couldn't help but think that my cheating with Josh's wife had put me on the same level as Heather. Of course, this can be explained by Heather's betrayal, which freed me from my vows. What she did, I can do, right? What's good for a goose is good for a gander, right? But the main thing for me was that I cheated on my marriage. I couldn't claim to be moral in a conflict with Heather. True, she didn't know that I had changed, but I knew that. I didn't notice that Carla was awake until she said, "You look thoughtful. What are you thinking about?" I told her, and she replied, "I made the same promises you made when you married Josh, so I guess that makes me a liar too, but I don't think so. Josh made the same vows I did, and then broke them. For me, this means that we had a contract, and if we were practicing law, if I remember correctly from my business law lessons, Josh violated the contract, and the contract may be declared invalid. I know that's not how marriages are treated, but that doesn't change the fact that Josh and I had a contract and he broke it off with me, which means, at least for me, that I no longer have to honor it. You should look at your marriage the same way. You're not cheating on your beloved. You're only doing what her breach of contract allows you to do. Enough of this. Feed me, and then we have to go to my place and rededicate the side of the bed where Josh slept and work on getting me pregnant." Her hands started moving down my body, and by the time she got to my groin, I was already starting to get up, and then we were off. If she hadn't gotten pregnant by the time we fell asleep at her house, it wasn't because we hadn't tried hard enough. In the morning, she asked when the children would be home, and I replied that it was about 6. She fed me steak and eggs for breakfast, saying that I would need energy if I was going to do her any more good that day. We broke up around 4 so I could go home and be there in case my parents arrived earlier than expected. Before I returned home, Carla asked me if I had made a decision, and I admitted that I had not. "Are you a good enough actor to pretend that everything is okay?" "I don't know. Why is this necessary?" "Because, in my opinion, the best revenge is to keep doing what we did on the weekend. I want to keep going until I get pregnant. Besides, you have to think about your children. Divorce will tear you away from them, because here the courts always give custody to the mother. You might be able to see them every weekend, but that's only if Heather isn't too mad at you to find some reason that you won't be able to see them. My advice is to put up with this bitch. To live as usual, except that you and I will make love violently at every opportunity." "I doubt it, Carla. Sooner or later, the traitors will be caught. If they catch us, it will reduce our chances of staying at a high level in any conflicts. We caught them because of stupid mistakes. You found out about Heather because they were both stupid enough to use home phones to communicate. I found out about it because Josh was so sloppy that he brought the evidence home in his pants pocket. We won't give that kind of chance. We will buy a pair of track phones at Walmart and use them to keep in touch, and so that our spouses do not accidentally find them, we will leave them in our desktops. We will always know when they meet, and we will get together at the same time. No, we can't do that. If Heather calls and says she needs to work late, I'll have to babysit. And if they do it at lunchtime, we won't be able to either, because I can rarely have a long lunch. You work late sometimes, don't you? When you do, she'll have to be home to look after the kids. I play cards with a few college girlfriends every Wednesday night, and I sometimes stop for a drink after work with the people I work with, and Josh is used to it. Another thing we can do is connect to our phone lines so that we know what they're talking about. Are you in the game? You've thought of everything, haven't you? Maybe I missed something, but if we both work together, I think we can cover all sides. Are you sure you want to do this? I'm absolutely sure. As I told you in the beginning, I want to get back at Josh. I gave him everything I had, and he stabbed me in the back. I spoil this fool to death and ruin his eyes 3 or 4 times a week, and he cheats on me? There's no way in hell I'm going to let it slip. My idea of perfect revenge is to let him raise another man's child. And what could be sweeter than having that child's father in bed, the husband of the woman he's cheating with? I want revenge too. I think I can get revenge after seeing how this asshole is raising my child, but I'm not sure I can pretend to be a loving husband for a wife who is cheating on me. You will be stimulated by your mistress. Are you sure? In the last 48 hours, you seem to have liked the hell out of what I've given you. You know it's damn hard to turn down an offer like that. Of course, I hope so, and that's not all. Josh wants 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and I want them both to have the same dad. What if the first child is, for example, a girl? I know he wants a son. Are you ready to keep trying? Yes, until we get caught. We just have to make sure that doesn't happen. Yes, and one last thing. Will you be able to act naturally around Josh? It's going to be hard not to grin, knowing that I'm going to try my best to give him a child to raise, but I think I can handle it. I think I'll stay after work with the girls on Tuesday. What a coincidence. I'll be working late on Tuesday. My parents dropped the kids off at 6:30 and said they hadn't eaten yet, so I took them to Mickey D's and wasn't surprised at all when they said they wanted a happy meal. After we ate and came home, Heather asked where we had been and said sharply, "Why didn't you call me and ask if I wanted to have dinner with you? You didn't tell me when you were coming back, you didn't call me on my cell phone, and you didn't tell me you were back," I replied just as sharply. She gave me an angry look and went to say hello to the children. While Heather was putting the kids to bed, I started to figure it out. I learned how to tap a phone line using a voice recorder and decided to buy 1 or 2 on my way home from work the next day. I would buy 2 to put not only on my line, but also on Josh's line. I'll have to call Carla and make an appointment. I noticed that Heather didn't take a shower before going to bed. Maybe she took a shower before returning home, but on the other hand, maybe she didn't. When Heather went to bed, I pleaded an upset stomach and told her that maybe we would make love the next day. At 3:20 on Monday, my secretary informed me that Mrs. Carla Marvis wanted to see me, and I asked Shelley to let Carla in. Carla came in, closed the door behind her, came up to me and kissed me. It's a pity that you have a secretary sitting outside your door. If she wasn't there, I'd lock the door and you could take care of me right here on your desk. If you can hold out for 10 minutes, she'll go home at 3:30. Wow, I was just joking, but I can easily kill 10 minutes. She opened her purse, took out her cell phone, handed it to me, and said that she had already written down her number in it. The plan for tomorrow is this. At lunch, I'll run to the Marriott and get a room. I chose the Marriott because to get to the rooms, you need to go inside and walk down the corridor. There are no exterior doors so that anyone can see us coming in. I'll call you and give you the room number. I'll finish work at 4:30 and go straight to my room. When you get there, go to the bar and have a drink, and if anyone recognizes you there and sees you, they'll think you just stopped for a drink on the way home. After drinking, you come to the room where I'll be waiting for you naked. Well, how? Sounds like a great plan. On the way home, I'll pick up what we need to tap our phones. When will it be convenient for me to come and do this? It's already been done. I went online and found out how to do it, and there is a voice recorder that I can use. At that moment, Shelley stuck her head in the door and said, "I'm leaving. I'll see you in the morning." When the door closed, Carla got up to lock the door, and when she turned to me, I had already taken off my pants and underpants and was clearing the table. Carla laughed and said, "Impatient? I like that about men. It'll keep me going until tomorrow, but you'd better come back prepared for a long and energetic evening." Maybe you should fortify yourself with vitamins? On the way home, I stopped at Radio Shack and bought 2 tape recorders and 6 additional cassettes. I took a second tape recorder to listen to the recordings in my office. I will keep the tapes, which contain something from the two lovers, until the day when I tell the judge about the reasons for the divorce. When I got home, Heather had already cooked dinner and brought wine, which was a good sign of her loving mood, and I was surprised by it. Did she spend the weekend making love to her lover, and now she's coming home wanting more? Was she turning into a nymphomaniac, or was she just enjoying her ignorant, as it seemed to her, husband after being with her lover? Maybe someday I will find the answer to this question. When dinner was over and the kids were parked in front of the electronic babysitter, Heather said, "You know you have a job tonight, right?" "Oh, and why is that?" "You have to catch up on last night." "I'll do my best." "You're always amazing, my love." I wanted to say, "Then why are you making love to Josh?" But he didn't say anything. While Heather was reading to the children, I went down to the basement, found where the phone line runs, entered it, and connected the recording. Heather doesn't leave for work until an hour after me, and I think that's when she and Josh will be talking. I could be wrong about that. Heather had a cell phone, and of course they could talk on her work phone while she was at work. I was betting that the call I overheard was a sign that they were talking when she was at home. We did it 3 times that night, which was a rare event for us. We made love 3 or 4 times a week. The warning bell rang right after we finished our 3rd time. We were lying next to each other when Heather said, "Have you ever thought about the fact that we might have another child?" "It's not real," I said, wondering if it had anything to do with Josh. "Actually, I'm considering the idea of having a vasectomy so that you can give up the birth control pills and we'd still be safe." "Why don't you want more?" "We gave birth to Mike and Anna so soon after the wedding that we didn't have the opportunity to go somewhere and see something. Now we are still young enough for this. When Mike and Anna become independent, small children will rule it out. Besides, right now we need the income from your work. We will be hurt by your leaving work because of pregnancy." I had very bad thoughts in my head. I'm sure Heather knew that Carla and Josh had decided to try to have a baby. Did Heather want Josh's first child before Carla got it? Was there something Heather had against Carla, or was it just Heather trying to claim her lover? Anyway, it made me think that I wouldn't be able to carry out Carla's plan. I think I'm going to have to leave Heather pretty damn soon. And then a very, very bad thought came to my mind. Were Mike and Anna even mine? I had to find out. I fell into a very restless sleep. The day after the grueling session in room 202 of the Marriott Hotel, I expressed my concerns to Carla. "I can't even imagine what you should do," Carla said. "Talk to her about Josh now before she gets pregnant?" Of course, she may already be pregnant and is preparing to throw the baby at you. I know what I would do, but I'm not a man, and I'm not you. What would you do? I would just tell her that I don't want any more children, and just in case, I started wearing a condom until I had a vasectomy. If she really gets pregnant, that's when I'm going to have a confrontation. I'd say we probably need a DNA test to find out if it was mine or Josh's. That should make her toss and turn. If I get a vasectomy, it will ruin our revenge plan. Just don't do it until I get pregnant. It will be a failure because I want all my children to have the same father. Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe Heather was just probing you. You said you didn't want to, and that would make her refuse. We'll just never know until she comes up to you and tells you that the rabbit is dead. She looked at her watch and said, "We still have a couple of chances for you to make me a mom." "What's that for?" "I decided to use them until I have a vasectomy. I really don't want kids anymore." "Well, take it off." "I hate this feeling. I'll stay on the pills. That way we'll be completely safe." It was time to go down to the basement and check the tape recorder. A couple of unimportant calls and then, "Hello? Good morning, sweetheart. Do you miss me?" "Of course you know that. Are we going to have lunch today?" "Yes, but I think our lunch meetings will end soon if we don't find somewhere cheaper. These motel rooms are killing my family budget. I can't keep pulling out of it. Sooner or later, I won't have enough money to feed my family, and I'll understand what the reason is. I'll try to think of something. Wednesday night is the fool's gambling night. Have you figured out how to get out of the house yet?" "Not yet, but I'm working on it. I'll cross my fingers. I need more from you than I get in 45 minutes of lunch break." "Me too, my love. Will we talk tomorrow?" "Of course. Bye. Bye, baby." I found it interesting that the cheater not only cheated on me, but also paid for the room. Yes, and how will Carla take it when she hears that she is a fool, according to her hubby? The only thing I knew for sure as I climbed the stairs from the basement was that Heather would not be able to leave the house on Wednesday evening. On Tuesday, when I got to work, I took my phone out of my desk drawer and called Carla, and when she answered, I said, "Good morning, you fool." "What? Who the hell is this? Have you already forgotten the voice of the father of your children? And besides, who else has this number?" "Bob, why are you calling me a fool?" "Listen," I said, holding the recorder up to the phone and pressing the play button. After the Fool's Night of Cards was played, I said, "I know from reliable sources that you are a fool. A husband knows such things about his wife, right? When the time comes, I'll kill that bastard." I played the rest of the recording to her, since she obviously hadn't checked her recorder. Carla asked me what I was going to do. "I think I'll have to work late on Wednesday, but I won't let her know until it's time to finish work. She won't have time to call a babysitter." "Did you hear that Heather is paying for the room?" "It doesn't surprise me. Josh has always been cheap. I think if you're going to work late, I'll skip my card game and we can meet. I'll call you tomorrow and arrange everything." On Wednesday at breakfast, Heather asked me if I had plans for the evening. I said no, and asked what was the matter. The girls from work talked about having a couple of drinks after work and chatting. "I can't do this if you don't look after the kids." "It's not a problem." I kissed her and went to work. I went into the Marriott, got a room, and when I got to work, I called Carla. Heather finishes work at 5, so I called her at 4:40 and told her I'd be late at work. There are some issues with Henderson's contract, and they need to be resolved before Nathan goes to meet with them tomorrow morning. Sorry for the late warning, but I really can't leave now. So don't wait for me. Love you. While pleasantly tired, I returned home at night. It's good that Heather was already asleep, because if she got up and wanted to play, I'm not sure I could have done it. For the next 5 weeks, Carla and I met twice a week on average, and we always knew in advance what Josh and Heather were doing. It was in this 5th week that Carla said, "Congratulations, Dad. How about ruining the eyes of the mother of your child?" "And how does Josh feel about this?" "He doesn't know yet. First I had to tell the father of the child. Now I can tell Josh." "You know," I said, "the only thing we didn't do was go on a weekend trip together. I think we owe it to ourselves to celebrate pregnancy once. We just need to do it, but so that the two of them don't put 2 and 2 together and come up with the right answer." "It's funny that you brought it up today. Josh has to fly to San Diego to sort out some business with his father's estate. He's going to visit some relatives this weekend before going to see a lawyer on Monday. If you figure out how to get away for the weekend, we can go somewhere, and no one will have any reason to think about it. I think I can handle it." I picked up my cell phone and called my brother, who lived in Akron. I asked him to call my house right after I left for work in the morning and tell Heather that I needed to come to him on family business over the weekend. I told him I'd call him later and explain what was going on. He said he would take care of it, and we said goodbye. I turned to Carla and said, "All we have to do is decide where we want to go." The next morning, Heather called me on my cell phone about 5 minutes after I left the house. "You need to call Bill as soon as possible. He has an urgent family matter, and he needs to talk to you." "I'll call you now." I waited until I got to work and called Bill. I told her that Brian, his son, needed a kidney transplant, and I needed to know if you would agree to donate a kidney, and if so, if you would come to check compatibility. "So what's the matter?" I explained the situation to him, and he told me that I could count on his help anytime I needed it. I knew I could count on him because he hated cheating fools. He was a single father because his wife cheated on him. He kicked her out and stayed with the children when Martha died in a car accident. I called Carla, told her how everything was going, and we agreed to leave for the weekend. I called Arrowhead Lodge and was even able to book room 130. Very appropriate, I thought. At 2 o'clock I called Heather and told her I was flying to Akron. "I'll go home and pack my things. My flight leaves at 8, and I need to be at least half an hour early to check in. I don't want to sound selfish, but I hope your kidney won't work. I need you to have all your parts so that we can go all the way to old age together." "Damn it, Heather. The way you say it makes me think you really love me." "You better not have any doubts about that, Bob. Not a bit. If only you knew," I thought, saying goodbye and hanging up the phone. When I got home, Heather was waiting for me in what she called her use me costume. Naked, and go use me pumps. Do you have time to charge me during your absence? Since I really didn't have to rush to catch a non-existent flight, I said I had time. Heather was lying on the bed, and when I was getting dressed, she said, "On the phone, you spoke as if you doubted that I loved you." Just kidding, baby. I know perfectly well how much you love me. Yes, of course, you can see it every time you use Josh, I thought. I don't want you to ever doubt that, my love. Never. The weekend with Carla was exhausting. We make love and go to bed. We wake up in the morning, make love, and then go to breakfast. We return to the room and make love before lunch. We'll eat, and then we'll go back to the room and make love. We go out to sit by the pool for a while, and then we come back and make love. We'll go out for dinner, have a few drinks and dance, and then we'll make love again. We repeat it the next day, and then again on Monday morning. We promised each other that we would do it again, and then we went home. When I got home, Heather was at work, so I went down to the basement and checked the tape recorder. First, on Friday morning, Bill called. A couple of minutes after she hung up, Josh called her. "Have you figured out how to get free for the weekend? I would love to spend a couple of days with you without a break." "No, Josh, I couldn't come up with anything, and the truth is, I don't want to come up with anything." "What's the matter?" "Why? You know, I feel guilty for what I'm doing. I love Bob, and he deserves better than having a cheating wife. I was going to tell you that it's over. I need to dedicate myself to Bob." "Come on, Heather. You've been making love to me for almost a year now. How could you do that if you love him as much as you say you do?" "First of all, I need to correct you. I've never made love to you. I've used you, but I've never made love to you. The only man I make love to is Bob." "Bullshit." "No, Josh, that's not bullshit. I love this man and try to show him that I love him at every opportunity. If you love him so much, then why are you sleeping with me?" "The excitement of it. The thrill of doing something illegal and forbidden. I keep a travel bag at work, and it has everything I need for a shower. Bob has never been able to feel even the slightest trace of you." "No, Josh, I'm going to get this over with before we get caught. I love Bob, and I don't want to lose him. Just be glad that you managed to get me drunk for the first time." "Maybe so, but you weren't drunk all the other times." "It all depends on what you mean by drunk. I was drunk with the excitement of making love to Bob after you used me. I wanted to see if there would be trepidation and excitement if I did it sober, so I let you do it a second time, and that was the only reason I kept doing it. We've been getting away with this for a little over a year, but I've just realized that the feeling I have for Bob after being with you isn't worth what it would cost me if we got caught and I lost Bob. Have fun in California, Josh, and when you get home, don't call me." "While interesting," I thought, pulling out the film and inserting a new one. I unpacked my things and went to work. Around 11 o'clock, I called Carla, and when I said hello, she said, "I miss you. Everything is fine? You're my beauty." "Yes, I want you to listen to something. If this is a Friday phone conversation, then I've already heard it. And what do you think?" It looks like she pulled her head out of her ass and realized she might lose you. "What are you going to do?" "I have already decided that I will stay with her only until the children turn 18, and I don't see anything that would make me change my mind." If she meant what she said to Josh, it would be easier for her to hold on, but the trust was gone. Even if she breaks up with Josh and they never meet again, how do I know that somewhere in the future she won't start missing the thrill and excitement of cheating and hook up with some new guy? You can always hit her with the words, "If you're really done with Josh, maybe we can move on," but you won't get a second chance. "No, I can't. This would give out information that I have a wiretap on my phone, and, as I said, the trust disappeared. I need a way to keep track of what she's up to. Besides, she knows me, and she understands that if I knew, I would share it with you. She can tell Josh that, and it will make him think, and we don't want that." "Is that your roundabout way of saying that we're going to keep doing this?" "You heard the conversation. They got away with it for a little over a year, and you and I only got away with it for a couple of months. They owe us another 10 or 12 months, and then, of course, there are penalties and interest that can make it even longer." "I would like that." The epilogue. Carla and I continued to see each other on average twice a week until her 7th month. She wanted to continue, but her stomach was so big that I couldn't make love to her without hurting her. That's right, we need to take care of babies. The ultrasound showed that Carla will have twins. She gave birth to 2 beautiful little girls. As she predicted, Josh wanted a son. So 2 years after the twins were born, she became pregnant again. And this time the ultrasound showed that it was a boy. We made love until her 8th month, and then we broke up. We both felt we'd gotten away with it long enough. And if we got caught, Carla would turn into a single mother with 3 kids to raise, and neither of us wanted that. As Carla put it the last time we were together, the goal was to take revenge on the deceiver by giving him other people's children to raise. To do this, I need to stay married to him. Josh got a promotion that required him to move, and I haven't seen or spoken to Carla since they moved in. However, I think about her often and with love. It's been 6 years now, and as far as I know, at least based on the wiretapping, Heather hasn't contacted anyone else. On the other hand, he and Josh had been doing what they were doing for over a year, and I had no idea. She could have gotten smarter and stopped using her home phone for forbidden communication, but I'm watching her closely, and so far I haven't seen anything that would indicate this. She's doing her best to spoil the hell out of me, and I'm critically rethinking my plan to leave her when the kids turn 18. It will be 4 more years for Mike and 5 for Anna. I'll just wait and see.